We've certainly not had our shortage of calamities or crises within the market. And particularly if we had to look at the last few decades, we've had the oil crisis, the 1987 crash, the dot-com crash, we had the financial crisis, then we had Brexit, and then we had Trump. If one looks backwards on that, we see that whilst they were significant at the time, when we look back, or we see that they were a blip in this long-term upward slope. Growth assets are typically those assets that can provide superior growth over the long term. It's absolutely essential that one has those assets in their well-diversified portfolio in order to ensure that long-term growth. However, with that potential for long-term growth does come short-term volatility. So once again, to my previous point, important to stay focused on the long term and to one's long-term strategy. Don't ever try to time the market. It's very, very difficult to anticipate events within the short term, and it's almost impossible to consistently get it right. You may get it right once or twice, but in the long term, all you're ultimately doing is eroding value. Another piece of good advice is to just ignore occasional losses within the markets. Drawdowns are very, very common. They're normal, they're frequent, and they will always take place. The key thing is to try to ignore that panic. Common misconception out there is that one's time horizon is to retirement. Your horizon is actually your entire lifetime because you need income for your entire lifetime. The problem with that, firstly, it's longer than anticipated, and secondly, it's the unknown that we're dealing with. Another misconception out there is that cash is king, and certainly within the short term it is. However, when one is saving towards retirement, it's actually the riskiest asset class that you can go into. And the reason for that is that cash will never beat inflation over the longer term. And as a result, it's actually a sure way of ensuring your failure to meet your retirement objectives.